Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ilham Nugroho. I will discuss about Chapter 5, the hypothesis in the quantitative research. A researcher might ask the question, what is the effect of preschool training on the first grade achievement of culturally disadvantaged children? The hypothesis would write culturally disadvantaged children who have had preschool training achieve at a higher level in first grade than culturally disadvantaged children who have not had preschool training. You can see that the hypothesis relates the variable of preschool training and first grade achievement. The following are additional examples of hypotheses in educational research. Number 1. Boys in elementary school achieve at higher level in a single-sex classes than in mixed classes. Number 2. Students who complete a unit on problem-solving strategies will score higher on standardized mathematics tests than those who have completed a control unit. Number 3. Middle school students who have previously taken music lessons will have higher math aptitude score. Number 4. Middle school students who have siblings will be more popular among their peers than students who do not have siblings. Number 5. Students who do warm-up exercise before examination will score higher on that examination than those who do not. Number 6. Elementary school children who do not get adequate sleep will perform at a lower level academically than will their peers who have adequate sleep. Although hypotheses serve several important purposes, some research studies might proceed without them. Hypotheses are tools in the research process, not end in themselves. Studies are often undertaken in areas in which there is little accumulated background information. Researchers may not know what outcome to predict. For example, surveys that seek to describe the characteristics of particular phenomena or ascertain the aptitude and opinion of group often proceed without hypothesis. Purpose of the hypothesis in quantitative research. Principal purpose served by the hypothesis in the following. Number 1. The hypothesis brings together information to enable the researcher to make a tentative statement about how the variable in the study might be related. By integrating information based on experience, related research, and theory, the researchers state the hypothesis that provide the most satisfactory predict or the best solution to a problem. Number 2. Because hypotheses propose tentative explanation for phenomena, they stimulate research and therefore the result in accumulation of new knowledge. Hypothesis testing research permits investigators to validate or fail to validate the theory through an accumulation of data from many studies. In this way, knowledge is extended. Number 3. Hypotheses provide the investigator's relational statement that is directly testable in a study research. That is, it is possible to collect and analyze data that will confirm or fail to confirm the hypothesis. Questions cannot be tested directly. An investigation begins with a question, but only the purpose relationship between the variables can be tested. Number 4. The hypothesis provides direction to the research. The hypothesis posits a specific relationship between variable and thus determine the nature of the data needed to test the proposition. Very simple, the hypothesis tells the researcher what to do. Facts must be selected and observation made because they have relevance to a particular question, and the hypothesis determines the relevance of this fact. The hypothesis provides a basis for selecting the sample. measurement, and research procedure to use, as well as the appropriate static analysis. Furthermore, the hypothesis help keep the study restrained in the scope, preventing it from becoming too broad or unwieldy. Number 5, the hypothesis provide a framework for report the finding and conclusion of the study. The researcher will find it very convenient and take each hypothesis separately and state the conclusions that are relevant to it. That is, the researcher can organize and the section of the written report around the provision of answer to the original hypothesis, thereby making a more meaningful and readable presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Nabil Zulfikri and I will explain about deriving hypothesis deductively. In contrast to hypotheses formulated as generalizations from observed relationships, some others are derived by deduction from theory. These hypotheses have the advantage of leading to a moral general system of knowledge because the framework for incorporating them meaningfully into the body of knowledge already exists within the theory. A hypothesis derived from a theory is known as a deductive hypothesis. After choosing a theory of interest, you use deductive reasoning to arrive at the logical consequence of the theory. This deduction then becomes the hypothesis in the research study. For example, social comparison theory suggests that students form academic self-concept by comparing their self-perceived academic accomplishment to some standard or frame of reference. If this is true, then one makes hypothesis that gives students would have lower academic self-concept if they were placed in selective homogeneous groups than if they were in heterogeneous or mixed ability groups in which they compare themselves to less able students. One could investigate this hypothesis by examining the change over time in the academic self-concept of given students in homogeneous class compared to that of matched given student placed in regular. Heterogeneous class, the evidence gathered will support, contradict, or possibly lead to a revision of social comparison theory. Another useful theory from which an educational researcher might make deduction is Piaget's classic theory on the development of logical thinking in children. Piaget suggests that children pass through various stages in their mental development, including the stage of concrete operation, which begin at 7 or 8 years and marks the transition from dependence on perception to an ability to use some logical operation. Piaget's cognitive theory also emphasizes that learning is a highly active process in which learner must construct knowledge. This tenet that knowledge must be constructed by learner rather than simply being ingested from teachers is the basis for much of the research on discovery-oriented and cooperative learning. In a study designed to test a deduction from a theory, it is extremely important to check for any logical gaps between theory and hypothesis. If the hypothesis is supported but was not rigorously deduced from the theory, the researcher cannot say that the findings furnish credibility to the theory. Characteristic of a usable hypothesis. After tentatively formulating the hypothesis but before attempting any actual empirical testing, you must evaluate the hypothesis. The final word of a hypothesis cannot be judged prior to empirical testing, but there are certain useful criteria for evaluating hypotheses. A hypothesis should conjecture to relationship between two or more variables. For example, suppose you attempt to start your car and nothing happens. It will be unprofitable to state the car will not start and it has a wiring system, because no relationship between variables is specified. And so there is no proposed relationship to test. A fruitful hypothesis would be the car will not start because of a fault in the wiring system. This criterion may seem patently obvious, but consider the following statement. If children differ from one another in self-concept, they will differ from one another in social studies achievement. The statement appears to be a hypothesis until you note that there is no statement of an expected relationship. An expected relationship could be described as higher self-concept is a likely antecedent to higher social status achievement. This hypothesis would then be stated as there will be a positive relationship between self-concept and social status achievement. A hypothesis must be testable. The most important characteristic of a good hypothesis is a testability. A testable hypothesis is verifiable. That is, deduction, conclusion, or inference can be drawn from the hypothesis in such a way that empirical observation either support or do not support the hypothesis. If the hypothesis is on target, then certain predictable result should be manifest. A testable hypothesis enables the researcher to determine by observation and data collection whether consequences that are deductively implied actually occur. Many hypotheses or propositions, as they may initially be stated, are essentially untestable. For instance, the hypothesis preschool experience promote the all-around adjustment of the preschool child would be difficult to test because of the difficulty of operationalizing and measuring all-around adjustment. To be testable, a hypothesis must be variable that can be measured. If no means are available for measuring the variables, then no one could gather the data necessary to test the validity of the hypothesis. It is important to avoid value statement in hypothesis. The statement a counseling program in the elementary school is desirable cannot be investigated in an empirical study because desirable is too vague to be measured. However, you could test the hypothesis. Elementary pupils who have had counseling will have higher scores on a measure of expressed satisfaction with school than will those who have not had counseling. A hypothesis should be consistent with the existing body of knowledge. Hypotheses should not contradict previously well-established knowledge. Historians of science find that people such as Einstein, Newton, Darwin, and Copernicus developed truly revolutionary hypotheses that conflict with what was accepted knowledge in their time. A hypothesis should be stated as simply and concisely as possible. A hypothesis should be present in the form of a concise declarative statement. A complete and concisely stated hypothesis makes clear what the researcher needs to do to test it. The general rule is to state only one relationship in any one hypothesis. The term used in the hypothesis should be the simplest acceptable for conveying the intended meaning. Avoid ambiguous or vague construct. Use term in the way that is generally accepted for referring to the phenomenon. When two hypotheses are of equal explanatory power, prefer the simpler one because it will provide the necessary explanation with fewer assumptions and variables to be defined. Remember that this principle of parsimony is important in evaluating hypotheses.
My name is Sohabi Abdul Manan, name 196121170. I will continue the presentation of Nabil. Types of hypothesis. There are three categories of hypothesis, that is research, null, and alternates. First, the research hypothesis. The research hypothesis is a hypothesis developed from observation, related literature, and the theory described in the study, which aim to find the relationship between variables as a result of the study. Research hypothesis can be divided into directional and directional forms. A directional hypothesis is stated when a person has some basis for predicting change in the stated direction. In contrast, the non-directional hypothesis states that there is a relationship or difference but without determining the direction. Second, the null hypothesis. Researchers must first state the null hypothesis because the hypothesis cannot be tested directly. The null hypothesis is a statistical hypothesis. It is called the null hypothesis because it states that there is no relationship between variables in the population. The null hypothesis is used to judge whether the relationship is genuine or whether it is just a coincident function. If the test shows that the observed relationship is unlikely to have occurred by chance, the null hypothesis becomes an unlikely explanation and the researcher rejects it. Researchers aim to reject the null hypothesis because they are trying to show there is a relationship between the research variables. The null hypothesis is assumed to be true until sufficient evidence suggests otherwise. For example, researcher's hypothesis is students taught through individual instruction will exhibit greater mastery of mathematical concepts than students taught through group instruction. Hence, the null hypothesis, the average mastery score of all students taught with individual instruction will be the same as the average mastery score of all those taught with group instruction. The third, the alternate hypothesis. Note that the hypothesis is children taught by individual instruction will exhibit less mastery of mathematical concepts than those taught by group instruction, suggests a relationship between variables and is therefore not a null hypothesis. That is an example of an alternate hypothesis. The next step is testing the hypothesis. A quantitative study begins with a research hypothesis, which must be tested for empirical verification. Researchers refer to the null hypothesis in hypothesis testing. There are steps in hypothesis. First, state in operational terms the relationship that must be observed if the research hypothesis is correct. The second, state the null hypothesis. The third, select the research method that will be used. Fourth, collect empirical data and then select and calculate. Fifth, compute inferential statistics to determine the probability that your result can occur by chance when the null hypothesis is correct. Sixth, the probability of an observed finding due to the chance is very small, a person will have sufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis. Many novice researchers believe that if the data they collect does not support their hypothesis, their study will fail. Experienced researchers recognize that unconfirmed hypotheses are unexpected and useful part of the scientific experience. They can lead to reconsideration or revision of theories and the generation of the new hypothesis, which often brings science closer to true explanation of circumstance. Hypotheses are basically probabilistic in nature. Empirical evidence can lead you to conclude that the explanation may be correct, or it makes sense to accept the hypothesis but never prove the hypothesis. The next step is classroom example of testing a hypothesis. One teacher hypothesized that teacher positive comment on student papers would result in better performance. Step 1. The concluding implications are stated as follows. The teacher's positive comments on student papers during a given unit will result in a higher score on the final unit test for that student, compared to students who receive no comments. Step 2. For statistical testing, the research hypothesis must be converted into a null hypothesis. Step 3. After obtaining permission from the parents for the children participation, the teacher will select students to randomly assign to the experimental and control groups. For students in the experimental group, he or she will write positive comments on their papers, while students assigned to the control group will not receive comments. Step 4. After completing the designated units, the teacher will carry out a final test to get the average achievement score for each group. Step 5. The inferential statistic then can be used to show whether differences in mean achievement scores are real or possibly a mere function of chance. The next step is the quantitative research plan. In developing a tentative research plan, we must identify useful problems and state the expected result in the form of research hypothesis. Developing a tentative research plan is important because it forces you to put your ideas into concrete form. Another advantage of a written plan is that you can give it to others for their comments and criticism. It is much easier for others to detect errors and problems in a written proposal than it is to communicate verbally. Another thing to keep in mind is that the more complete and detailed the initial proposal, the more useful it will be for researchers and the more time it will save later. The research plan should include the following elements, that is problem, hypothesis, research methodology, and analysis of the proposed data. The explanation is as follows. First, problems. The plan begins with a clear statement of the research problem. Quantitative problems ask about the relationship between certain variables. Second, hypothesis. The quantitative question is followed by a brief statement of the research hypothesis. Third, methodology. This section describes how you will conduct a study. Fourth, data analysis. Demonstrate how you will analyze data to test hypothesis or answer research question. Beginner quantitative researchers may find it difficult to write this section because they are unfamiliar with statistics. The last subbab is the pilot study. After a tentative research plan is approved, it may be useful to try out the proposed procedure with several participants. This trial or pilot study will help the researcher to decide whether the study is feasible and whether it is worth continuing, and can provide some indication of its tenability and suggest whether further improvement are needed. Any unexpected problems that arise can be resolved at this point. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation is useful for you guys. Thank you and goodbye.